What's up, group members? Welcome back to this week's session. I'm one of your hosts, licensed psychologist, Dr. Kristen Casey.
I'm licensed psychologist, Dr. Jessica Rabon.
I thought I was last. I'm licensed psychologist, Dr. J.
And I'm licensed clinical social worker, Kristen Gingrich. And it was finally not one of us who
I literally am
messed it
just so
up.
excited. Justin messed up.
Wow. It was due time.
It only took 40 episodes.
It only took 40 episodes. So this week we're talking all about self-care. So settle in, take a seat, and welcome to group therapy. Let's dive into the reflection question from last week. We asked you about your favorite reality TV show, and you said Fear Factor.
Who said that?
I don't want to name any names.
Who was it?
It was entertaining. That was entertaining.
It was so entertaining. I just remember when they went in like this big box with like these like slimy creatures, and I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I didn't realize until recently is that's Joe Rogan.
No, right. That's yeah.
Joe Rogan hosted Fear Factor, and I was like, oh, it's the only time I ever liked Joe Rogan.
Oh my God, Kristen. Somebody also said Road Rules, Real World. Those were
Which
good.
one did you like better? Which one did you like better?
Real World.
I was more Road Rules.
Road rules.
Oh, interesting.
But when they did the crossover for like the Survivor version of it,
Great.
Oh yeah.
that was it. That hit.
Someone said they love some Bachelor and Bachelorette drama.
Yeah.
I've never seen either of those.
I don't want it.
I love watching cooking competition shows, Chopped, Guys Grocery Games. Love that.
British Bake Off? We're not going to miss
so
that.
good. So good. So good. We talked about that last. Oh my God. It was so good. Yeah. Yeah. You weren't here. I mean, I'm kidding. Southern Charm. And then somebody else said, Say Yes to the Dress. Those are all really good ones. Yeah. So to start, I wanted to throw something at you guys. What is one self-care activity that you tried that you did not like? Maybe it backfired. Maybe you were like, ooh, I don't like this. Even after you've kind of like let it settle, you still didn't like it. Any thoughts?
So from a therapist, like, try this intervention. I don't like guided visualization, like at all. Like I can't do it. But from like a stereotypical self-care, I hate pedicures. Like hate them. I will kick the people. Like my feet are so ticklish.
Oh.
Like I'm outing myself here. The last time I got a pedicure was right before my wedding, and I've been married 9 years. So
But I'm the same way, Jess. Except I get pedicures despite it. And every time my manicurist goes in with the scrubby, I'm like gripping the chair, being like, I hope I don't kick this woman in the face. And she's laughing at me the whole time because she just knows. And so, I feel that.
I've never gotten a mani-pedi. I feel like I'm missing out.
you should.
So we got to,
when we get together.
We're going.
I'm not going to do the pedi, but
I'll do it.
I'll do it. Justin will do it for you. Yeah.
thank you.
let's go.
You got to do it at least once.
Yo, 100%. I'm down. The thing I haven't liked is any form of like art. So those sips and strokes. I get so into the perfectionism that I'm like pissed off. Like I'm looking over at Susan's and her sunset looks spectacular. And then people are starting to comment on mine. And I'm like, I don't know why it looks like a black hole. I don't know what happened. I was just mixing paint like you told me to. It looks like a vortex to hell.
You just
I've never enjoyed I've done them a lot, but I'm good at the sipping, not good at the stroking. I don't know what to say.
Hey. Oh my God, that's so funny. Because when I go to those too, I sometimes compare a little bit, and I'm like, my dog looks so bad. It looks like a possum. Like it like literally like doesn't look good. Yeah. For me, I can't do massages. I've tried so hard. I hate them. I hate every minute of it. I can't wait to get it over with. I hate
That's
it.
shocking.
Like, I know I can't do it. It's because I'm sitting there and I'm like, am I supposed to talk? Like, I don't know what etiquette is. So maybe if I learn etiquette, are you supposed to say anything? Or are you supposed to just lay there?
No, I'm not chatting with my pillow.
I don't know. Because like this is outing myself. The first time I got a massage, I talked to the person the whole time because I didn't know. I'm like, they're probably bored. Like, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do?
It's supposed to be like, oh my God. So, okay. y'all, I think when we get together, we're all gonna, once we hear KBI's least favorite self-care activity, we're all doing all of these. So we're getting massages, we're getting pedicures, we're gonna do a sip and stroke
massage. Put us all in a room together.
We would get kicked out.
Yeah, accurate.
I feel bad for whatever town we're about to be in.
KBI, what about you?
I'm just still dying over Justin saying I'm good at the sipping, not the stroking.
We didn't need to. We didn't.
We were trying to just roll over that one real quick. Like,
I can't.
Leave it to KBI to bring up the shit that we don't want to talk about. Yeah,
it's my job. It's my job. What is the thing I don't enjoy doing anything? I agree with Jess. Guided meditations, I really struggle with because I can't picture things in my head. Mm-hmm. I lack that ability. Like if I say picture a red apple, many people can picture a red apple in their head. I cannot.
What happens?
It's just not there.
Sorry, just
it's sometimes like fuzzy, but I cannot picture an apple in my head. Like I cannot picture my son's face. Like I can't. It's a thing. There are people
you can't picture like, your son's face.
No,
I'm dying over like Justin's level of concern. What happens?
No, that turned from Justin being like concerned to me. Oh gosh.
No, it's just it doesn't show up for me. It never has. I've never been able to picture things. I've never been able to do any of that.
Interesting.
I think it's so important though, because like when we meet clients, we'll suggest things, right? And some people have like these feelings of like, oh, that didn't work for me, or like, oh, I can't picture things, or but I can't paint, or something like that. Like, so I think it is important to kind of think about self-care in the way that we can't just kind of like say, oh, just go do this one generic thing. It has to be really unique. Because some of my clients are like, I'm not journaling. Ever.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say too, meditation. Could you picture me meditating?
I think you need it.
Thank you. Word for word. I was like, I think you need it.
No, I can't my brain,
I think
maybe if you meditate, you would get more Remy's.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I've been wearing my Apple Watch and been sending screenshots to K10, and she's proud of me.
It's the cutest thing. Okay. Yeah, it's
I'm
adorable.
getting at least 3 Remy's a night. So.
You need to charge her for this consultation.
That's not how you say it, but you're doing great. Yeah.
Thanks,
you're
Mom.
doing good.
Thanks, Mom.
So what is self-care? Like, how do you guys describe it or capture it? Loaded question right off the bat.
I really think of it as like anything that either like promotes, maintains, or betters your health and well-being, whether that's physical, mental, and we can get into the different types of self-care. But like, yeah, anything that is, I don't want to say good for your health because that's objective, but like for you as an individual, something that you do that can benefit your overall health and well-being.
I agree with that. I sometimes think too, like I always go back to it's so unique. I think it depends on like your goals. For some people, they're like, I'm so in my head, I have to get out of my head. So I can't do like the visualization, or I can't do things that I'm going to be deep in cognitive thought. I have to like physically do something. So some people go to the gym or they run or whatever. So I think it's so unique. I think for me, how I think about self-care is even the word self-care just kind of feels like, I don't know, it feels so generic, but I think of self-care as like, how do I get myself from where I'm at and like make myself feel like 10% better? Like just by this one activity, like objectively, whatever that looks like for you.
I love it.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I think, and like you said, like it's objective to each person. And I also think sometimes it's just not always bubble baths and massages. And like Jess said, like it's whatever betters your health and well-being. And I think that is, again, like paying your bills on time and budgeting, like that betters your well-being. in so many ways, even though it might not seem like filling your cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think when people hear self-care, they think of all the stereotypical, sometimes expensive, like things that you have to spend a lot of money on. And it's funny because like a self-care activity I think of that really, really helps me is Sunday mornings going to the coffee shop and writing out my scripts for videos for the week.
I love that.
And for some people, they might be like, well, isn't that work? And I'm like, yo, for me, it relieves a ton of stress and I look forward to it. And I'm like, oh, all my ideas. I'm just sitting here at Starbucks writing all like my ideas for all the different videos I want to do. And because throughout the week, I have no time for it. And I enjoy it. It's like kind of creative writing and whatever. And of course, it's like part of all of our jobs in a way. But I don't think people would think of that as self-care. They'd be like, well, isn't that just work? But like for me, being out of my home at Starbucks, just writing, I feel so at peace. I can't explain it another way.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like you're thinking of your future self too, like organizing, and it probably brings you a sense of peace. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
K10, I love that you said future self, because one thing I do, which now like it is self-care a lot of times for my future self. I did this yesterday. Like I was driving home and my gas was getting low, and by low I mean it wasn't at like 2 miles like KBI. It was like
I do the same. One of the few things me and KBI both do. I'm the same way. I'll drop down to 1 mile.
Which
I was at like 70.
What?
And yeah,
that's what?
No.
Yes.
That's nothing.
Oh my God, Jess.
70.
I have
drive
like
out of the state.
30 to 45 minute commute each way. Like,
wow.
All right.
But I was like, either I'm going to have to get gas today or I'm going to have to do it tomorrow morning when I'm trying to like get my daughter to daycare. So I'm like, tomorrow me will thank me for this.
Oh, I like that.
Or even like KBI, you said like paying bills. Like I know when I like go through and pay my bills, like a weight has lifted. It's like, okay, now I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Or Justin, like you saying what you do on Sunday mornings. One thing I do every morning before work, I don't take my work computer home. I set that boundary, but I have my work phone and I'll log in and check like any new consults, kind of my schedule for the day ahead of time. So then I can kind of on my 45-minute commute, like plan out and kind of prepare ahead of time. And some people would say like, well, why are you starting work before you're at work? And I'm like, no, for me, it's so much easier to like kind of know what I'm walking into, kind of preparing myself versus walking into it and being like so thrown off.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where like setting yourself up for success, like again, like, yes, that might be taking from your cup, but it's also filling your cup because it's not taking as much as what it could.
Absolutely.
I had a client a long time ago. Oh my God. I think I was like on internship, and she said something to me. She's like, whenever I'm really struggling, I'll pretend like I'm sick, like physically ill, like just say you have the flu, and like how you take care of yourself when you're sick, like the gentleness, the kindness, the compassion you have for yourself. Like you're telling your friends, I can't do things right now. Like that's the level that they would try to get to. Like whenever they were trying to engage in self-care, just to kind of slow down a little, and say like, what do I need? So for her for them that worked. But I think about it this way too. Like everybody is so different. If I were to do that, I'd feel like, oh my God, I'm like, my life is crumbling. Like I can't do it, but everybody is so different.
Yeah, that hits so hard. I've been battling COVID since I saw Blink last week. And
what?
I feel like when I'm sick, it's the only time I really allow myself to like lower my expectations.
Wow.
For what I want to get done in the day. Otherwise, I'm so like, I got to get all these things done. But no, that hit. Part of me thinks of like, why are therapists and mental health people, professionals, why are we so adamant about self-care? Like, why do you think?
I think one thing, at least for me, is that if we actually engage in self-care, like on a daily basis, or like do all like the little things that we were talking about, it can help prevent things like burnout. or help prevent like our mental health from getting worse. So it's not, because I think a lot, and I mean, I used to do this, like think of self-care as, oh, I'm really stressed. Now I need to engage in self-care. And it's like, no, you need to be engaging in self-care preventatively. And then, yes, maybe if like K10, your client was saying, you're really struggling, that's when you take that extra level of care.
Extra care. I was going to say something similar too. Like it's preventative because there's always going to be a life challenge. Like there's always going to be something that you have to deal with, like no matter what, even if you prepare and you have all your ducks in a row and life is peachy, you'll get hit with like a tornado and then you'll be out of power for 4 days. And then you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I can't even believe like I don't have power and I have these 2 dogs that I have to take care of. That didn't happen to me this weekend or anything. So if I didn't do self-care up until this point, I would be losing my fucking mind. Like I would literally be losing my mind. To you. It totally didn't. Yeah.
Close friend, for sure.
Totally didn't. Yeah. But there's always going to be a challenge that you seriously just can't prepare for. So with Jess, I'm with you. I think if you are able to do it even in small increments each day, it just makes you feel a sense of balance, you know, for when life gets crazy.
And I think at the end of the day, we all deserve to feel something good. Like we all deserve to do something fun, feel something good. Like, even if we're just talking about self-care in like the bubble baths and that area, like we all deserve to do the things that make us feel good. Like we all deserve to take a nice long hot shower. We all deserve to take a break from the kids. We all deserve that so that we can just show up again tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us get caught up in neglecting the self, and I'm as guilty as this as anyone to be like, there's no time. Like I feel like that's the most common thing. Like I just don't have time today. I don't have time for that. But then the days go by, and it's like, when was the last time you saw your friend? When was the last time you got your body moving? When was the last time you were just outside, like, you know, catching those vitamin D and just like chilling for a little bit? Like it just goes by so quickly because of perfectionism, because I know we already talked about like burnout, and a lot of us just get caught up in whatever we're putting our energy into. It's easy to forget, like, y'all, all you need is like 20 to 30 minutes. Like you got 20 to 30 minutes. I know you do. And I know some of us, some days it feels so wild. You didn't have it today, but you got it tomorrow. But I'm as guilty as anyone. I'm like, I don't have it. But how much time did I spend, you know, mindlessly scrolling all my social media, you know? And then you're like, damn, I did have it, but I didn't use it. Like,
well, and I think that comes down to choosing where we spend our time. But I do, when I hear that, a lot of times I'll say back to clients, bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
And just in the capacity of, there are ways that we can integrate self-care into our lives in small increments, right? You have to wash the dishes. I hate washing the dishes. It is a bane of my existence. If I was less environmentally conscious, I would eat on throwaway stuff every day of my life so I didn't have to wash dishes. I don't do it because I'm not a terrible person. And so, even though I want to.
Go ahead. Sometimes I never know what's going to come out of your mouth. Like, never. Like I never even have.
I do use them, but now I'm distracted.
You were talking about implementing it of these every day.
These poor foam plates at Walmart. Just like nobody wants to buy me. Like God,
I just want to be loved. But throw on a playlist while you're listening, while you're washing dishes.
Totally.
Like, if you have to vacuum your home, put on a bomb ass playlist or put on an audiobook and do that. There are pieces that you can integrate that in every day of your life. Like when I go grocery shopping, I am able-bodied. I can do, like, I have that ability, but I walk up and down every single aisle in that grocery store just to move my body.
Yeah.
I thought you did the Instacart thing, so you don't have to.
But when I go to the grocery store, which I still do, like I literally went to the grocery store the other day for like 6 items, and what did I do? Walked up and down every single aisle because I did have the time, but usually because, again, grocery shopping is the bane of my existence.
Sometimes it's about, I'm pulling from DBT, but like improving the moment if you don't have like the time, so to say. Right. So if like you just really like, you're losing it and you have to do notes, like KBI said, you put on some music, or you could like talk to a friend while you do it or something like that.
Well, even like, and once again, this might not be self-care to some people, but you know, if you have a commute, there's definitely times that all, with, you know, technology talking into phones, like make kind of a to-do list of things I need to do. Cause that's something that really helps me kind of stay on track. Or like, that's the time on the way home from work, my sister and I usually call and catch up. So like using like commute times, if you have it, or, I don't know, pairing other activities, like put your, like you said, music or like favorite TV show, or I don't know, whatever it is, while getting it done.
You're making me hate work from home already more than I do. I'm like the sole person on the side of nobody likes going somewhere different and doing work there and then coming back home and keeping home. Everyone's like, boo! No, I want to sleep, eat, and work all in the same place.
Oh my God.
And I get it. There's perks, but I really hate it. I'm not built
everybody's
for it.
Everybody's different. Go ahead, Takibia.
I was just going to say, as someone who has gone from working into the office for 7 years to now I'm working from home, Starbucks patio has become my favorite place in the world.
There you go.
I was just there today from 12:30 until 4:00. And I was just working. I didn't have clients. I didn't have like any of that. But it's also important, like that working from home. Like, do you have that separate work area that you can step away from and create that? Like this desk, I honestly only use it when I'm working. So podcasting, work, that type of stuff, because it's in my living space. And
that's the only way I make it work. I had to, because I didn't have power, so I had to work from an office yesterday. So for the first time in 3.5 years now. Yeah, first time. And I was like, okay, we're going to switch it up. No big deal, you know? I hated every minute of it. Every minute of it. And I was in an office with literally my friends, like people I really enjoy seeing, you know, I see them like once every couple of weeks. And I'm like, shut the door. I didn't even have the door. Like I was just like, so I can't, like, I get so distracted, but I'm like, let me make the best of it. Let me like make it a thing. I came home and I slept so good. So that's one perk, I guess. But yeah, I can't do it. But I'm really specific. Like KBI said, like with stimulus control, like when I work from home, I only go in my office and the bathroom and the kitchen, and that's it. I don't allow myself to go in any other room because otherwise I will lose my momentum completely. So
that's smart.
Yeah.
So KBI kind of already touched on this, but do you all know the different like areas of self-care? There's 8 different types.
No.
Ken's like, nah.
Because we have a Google Doc, so everybody, like, I'm just going to out us here. So sometimes like we'll make like some really, really, really super brief notes. And then when I was looking at all of them, I was like, financial, environmental.
Yeah.
I was like,
so I didn't know until I was looking stuff for the polls, but yeah. So like, I mean, I think a lot of us would think of like physical self-care, like working out, good nutrition, like emotional, psychological. I mean, I would argue that those are probably the ones that people think of the
popular.
Most.
Yeah, because a lot of times clients will say like what we said before, I can't get out of my head, or like my emotions feel like they take over, and like whenever I'm stressed out, like what do I do? Like, you know, we're talking about like basics, but I think emotional self-care, mental self-care kind of come up a lot for me in my own practice, but the other ones not so much.
Yeah, I mean, what you all think of, like, I'm actually going to ping this to Justin, like social self-care. And I say that because, Justin, you're like
Friday
more extroverted than like
Friday pickleball.
If you took all of the 3 of ours extroverted and put it together, it still would not be
not even
nearly.
Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, I would be the person if I was in that building, like knocking on K10's door. I'm like, hey, buddy.
What's
and you're
up?
like,
You want some lunch? I'll be like, I need a moment. Like,
You had 6 hours of moments. Come out of here.
the best would be me and Justin cohabitating in the same office, not saying a word to each other and just enjoying each other's presence. And he'd be like, wait, bestie, what about that? Like, and I'd be like, oh God. Like,
I'm so like that. I've always been that way. Yeah, I
love it though.
I think I've had to work extra hard. I know I've shared that before, like working from home, being a content creator is really isolating. And that's surprising to me. Like, I don't have my cup. I like engaging with people in the comments. I like DMing you all throughout the week and all that stuff, but it doesn't fill my cup at all. Like, it's just, I might get a laugh and it's nice, but nothing replaces me seeing a human face to face and having organic interaction. Like, it doesn't at all fill my cup online through social media. And again, I like social media, of course. I hope I do. Like, it stimulates me in different ways, but it doesn't fill my social cup. Like, maybe if I was like in other like social communities online, it might. But I need that in-person interaction for myself. I don't know about y'all or how that plays out for y'all.
I'm definitely like one, because I am so introverted that a lot of like doing this podcast or texting or FaceTiming for a lot, it is fine with me. I think I mentioned this on one of the podcasts.
I'll tolerate it, but
no, like when the pandemic hit, like honestly, nothing really changed for me. Like the other thing is though, because I never worked from home. I work in a hospital. So like I think part of that is being introvert and like working with so many people every day, and always having that face-to-face interaction, like especially over the past 3 years. And like, yes, I absolutely love like going out with my friends or things like that. But I'm definitely one that I'm also okay if it's like once a month, other than like you, Justin, that's like every day. I need to see a human being with.
I need to be in your energy.
Yeah.
And then there's me. I'm like, I'm okay with like just texting. That's good enough for me.
KBI will randomly FaceTime me and I'll be like, okay, here's my social interaction for the day. Yay.
I mean, she picked up today. She never picks up, but she just picked up today.
I am always in airplane mode, literally. I know.
When I text her and it says, would you like to notify her anyway? Yeah, I would. Thank you.
I don't know. I think I'm very introverted. I think the thing that I miss though is, I don't know. I have a lot of friends, like you guys included, like I have friends that I feel like I don't have to be on for. And I really, crave those connections all the time. You know what I mean? So, you know, if I have a close friend or my cousin lives right around the block, I'll be like, hey, I'm coming over. We watch anime together. It's like our thing. And we'll just sit there and watch anime together and like talk about it. You know what I mean? But, if it's something like I have to go to an event where I don't know anybody, that'll drain my social battery for like the whole weekend. Like I can't. So I do enjoy like being around people, even like new people that I meet. Like I love that, but I just have to be aware that it might kind of put me in a place where I need to recover. But definitely it's something important to me too, though.
Somebody just give me an example of financial self-care. Because I don't think I do any.
No, like paying the bills.
Never done that.
Does putting everything on auto pay and forgetting about it count? Or
yeah, really?
That could be. If you think about it, if you're more likely to miss payments.
Yeah.
Like making sure all your payments are on auto pay.
Yeah, I got auto pay.
Like doing your taxes. Like I know that's not fun by any means, but like getting them done, saving money. It could be like if you're saving up for like a trip that you want to go on and actually putting money.
I'm thinking of the people out there who might have like financial difficulties or they might not have like financial opportunities and how this might be hard, you know? So I think like even like having stuff on auto pay or like, you know, spending time like being mindful about finances could be very stressful, but then also helpful. Like self-care doesn't always have to be like fun and great and dandy, you know, it could be hard and arduous, but then, you know, it could create a sense of balance afterwards, you know? So it's kind of how I think about with financial stuff. I don't know if that's right though.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we go back to what we talked about at the beginning, like what is self-care, things that like better your overall well-being.
Could it also be blowing $400 online shopping? Because
I thought you were going to say on an ice machine.
Okay, my ice machine was the best purchase of my life, okay?
I'm just worried the amount of things you have in this one room.
We're worried about your space. Like
what you
which
don't
is
see,
environmental self-care.
Yeah, environmental self-care. Yeah.
Cleaning, organizing.
Is the ADHD piles that are currently sitting on the couch over here.
KBI and I could never live together. Ever.
I kind of want to show, like, my ADHD piles on the couch. That's a pile. That's a pile.
That's not a pile. That's like
a pile. That's a pile.
That's one large pile.
That's a pile. No, there's 6 piles.
Me and KBI find areas where we actually are similar because I'm the same way.
It's organized, though.
I'm the same way.
Oh my God.
Yo, that's all like clean clothes from like skits and stuff. And I know what's in there. I didn't.
Yeah.
Listen, I know. And it's just stuff, I need to hang up and I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I have a really small pile. It's just 3 things right there.
No, that's not. It doesn't count.
I have 0 piles around.
I'm not surprised.
How do you function? Like, I mean, I got piles back here, but they're all like organized.
The thing that sends me over the edge is when I do laundry. Like, my toxic trait is when I get it out of the dryer, I have to put it away or I cannot think. Like, I just can't function. Or if I get back from a trip, like if I don't immediately, I don't care if it's like 3 a.m. If I don't put everything in there, like in a place, like I can't do it. I can't.
What is that? I don't know. I mean, we've already gone over that. Laundry's been in that basket for about a week and a half. We know that I fold my clothes however they went in the laundry. They get hung up that way.
Oh my God.
It's fine.
We're all unique.
It's my self-care
beings.
though, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is like, that's a whole other thing of like what works, everybody's right? Different. Yeah.
Like
my self-care and like my limit is if I know that I have to turn everything in that pile right side out, I'm not going to do it. And I'm just going to live out of the basket versus I have just given myself permission to do that. I'm more inclined to hang that up and it doesn't take as much energy out of me.
That is true. You make a very good
Unlike
point.
Jess, where if Jess walked into my closet space, she would have an aneurysm.
Jess, is your closet color coded or no? I just literally need to know for my own sanity.
It's color coded, but by item type. So like
wait.
So it's shirts, like short sleeve, long sleeve.
Like I have sweatshirts, and so I have like my gray sweatshirts all together, my black, like that, and then it goes into sweaters.
That's actually pretty smart because I have them. I have them based on just type of. But not
I have
color.
it based on type. So mine is based on like I have blouses, like my work shirts. Then I have like my tank tops. I
have that too, and their color, and they.
Yeah. We are not the same.
And then they go from dark to light. So like the black's on the left side, and then it will be like the browns and the reds. And like,
ooh.
I just want to go into Jess's closet and move one thing.
Also, I don't very frequently wear colors, so it's mostly black, gray, and white.
Yeah.
With a few pops of color in there.
Yeah, I don't wear bright colors either. Yeah. Ever. I stumbled into a Barbie bar the other night by accident, and everybody was in like
I did see that.
highlighter pink, and me and my cousin, she's like kind of like goth-ish. We're both in like black, basically, and they're like, "We'll put you in the back." I'm like, "I totally understand." Like, thank you. Grateful to get in. Like, I get it. Like, like
happy to be here, but also
happy to be here, but sorry, I'm not in pink. Yeah.
You know what we're also happy about?
I knew that was going to be the transition. Good job.
Yeah. That was so good.
The Google Scholar Shorts.
Google Scholar Shorts.
Is that a golf club? What is that?
It's a back scratcher. And
He got it from one of his piles.
Wait, hear me out. It's a mini rake.
It's a mini rake.
Wow.
Mini rake. And it helps with getting those hard to reach,
I've never had a back itch like to the point.
That you need a back scratcher?
That's amazing, though.
This is how you know you're almost 40. If you have one of these,
Wait,
this is self-care.
Wait, do you have 40. The thing that helps you put on your shoes?
No, a shoehorn? No, I want one though. Please.
I have one and it's so good. Like,
I need a shoehorn.
Yeah, it's
what?
So good.
Oh my goodness. Anyways,
this research better be about shoehorns.
It is not. It is not. But one thing we didn't really talk about are like individuals that have any type of like marginalized status or limitation. I mean, other than, K10, you brought up individuals with financial difficulties. So for individuals with chronic illness, what type of self-care interventions do you think are most frequently recommended to them by providers?
Chronic illness?
Probably like, I don't want to be stereotypical either, because not everybody with chronic illness needs medication, but like routine medication management, like making sure that like, I'm just thinking of like my clients with chronic pain, and how like keeping like a regimen is like super essential for them so that they don't overdo it, sort of thing. But it's the only thing I could think of.
Any other
say like just general health upkeep?
I bet they're like, which I don't think is necessarily bad, but I think a lot of doctors, when they don't know what else to do, they'll just blame mental health. They're like, well, you better talk about your emotions then, because I don't know how to help you with that chronic pain. I've experienced that a lot.
Yeah.
Psychosomatic.
They're just like, well, then that must be anxiety, and you better just tell someone about that. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, so this is a review of 233 different studies that looked at various chronic conditions. So like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, COPD, heart failure. There was a bunch of them. So the most frequently recommended self-care behaviors were physical activity, nutrition, and medication management across, regardless of, which I think, I mean, we can discuss this. I have my thoughts. But on the one hand, like, yes, I think it's good to think of those things as self-care. Two, the fact that those were the three across various chronic illnesses also kind of speaks. But another point I wanted to highlight from this, the authors also looked at the deficits in self-care recommendations when it comes to chronic illness. And Justin, I'm glad you brought up what you said, because they actually found the opposite in studies, that there was lack of attention to the psychological consequences of having a chronic illness. So people actually didn't recommend like therapy as self-care.
What the fuck?
Rare use of technology or like behavior change techniques in self-care. And then there was a lack of focus on helping people manage the signs and symptoms of their chronic illness beyond those three basic recommendations.
I feel so mixed, because I think I'm in my own personal life experiences coming into play here. My experience was, especially before I got diagnosed with Chiari, every doctor I went to, immediately when they don't know what it is, they just assume you have some sort of mental health problem. No, this is anxiety, because obviously it can't be anyone else. Anyone else who has a chronic condition that has gone through this, it feels a little triggering to have it put on mental health. And yet at the same time, of course, we want mental health to be recommended or talked about. But I feel like that's the like, don't know what it is, like meme. Where
absolutely.
It's like slapping a sticker and they're like, it's mental health. And you're like, no. And I know a lot of people's stories are similar to mine. Like, you had to go to so many different specialists until finally somebody turned over the right stone and they're like, yo, you got this condition. So I don't know. I feel mixed. But part of me is like, we got to bring in mental health here somewhere.
I think if it's like not the end all be all, like it makes sense, like as like an adjacent, like, hey, let's help you out with this. But if they're like, hey, it's all in your, basically like, is it all in your head? Like, no, it's not, obviously. Like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and
I guess,
think,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for me, like, and I am such a huge proponent of like movement, making sure you're nourishing your body, like all of those things. And I guess just like reading through this and the fact that those were the three, and maybe they are the top, but it also just feels like so cookie cutter in many ways.
Yeah.
Like since it was like, you know, diabetes, hypertension, COPD, heart failure, like, oh, we're going to recommend these three things rather than kind of tailoring. I don't know.
And I don't know. In my mind, it's like, that just seems like, I don't even know how to capture it. Like self-care to me feels like something that you would do on top of like whatever it is to maintain, you know, like if you have diabetes or like something like that, like you need, in most cases, depending on the type, like you need medication or you need like, you know, stuff like that. That's like a for sure thing, like, you know, and obviously making sure that you're doing that is important, but then what else are you doing to manage anything else? You know, it's hard to kind of remember and like think about doing this and like, think about what you have to eat. Like, I don't know, there's just so much there, you know, that I feel like, I don't know. I guess I'm mixed up too about it.
I think it would be hard because self-care is so broad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think of when we work as a therapist, like it could take you sessions and sessions to narrow in of what specific self-care is going to be like make a significant difference for an individual. Like that's such a self-exploration and long conversation. So I feel for any sort of, you know, doctor, nurse, practitioner who is almost trying to slap that on at the end of a very quick appointment.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like, yes.
I don't have the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think of the ways I explore that with clients, and it's very much like an experiment and like a report back kind of thing. It's, it's complex.
Because we have the luxury of seeing it play out, you know? Go ahead, Jess. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I do also wonder though, kind of thinking back what K10 just said about like self-care being something above it. I wonder though, if you're working with individuals with chronic illness, and I mean, I do this for my job, but you reframe like medication management as a self-care activity, if that increases compliance at all. Like, or, you know, you need to be moving your body or exercising, instead of saying like, you know, so your hypertension goes down, like you need to do this, is more like to take care of yourself. Like what is some movement that you can get in as a self-care? I don't know. I think that's more the psychologist in me trying to reframe. I don't know if there's studies on that, but I wonder if they're framed more as self-care rather than like treatment plan. If it makes a difference.
I could see that though. Yeah. I could see that as being helpful.
Know what else is helpful?
I think it's helpful. I mean,
the polls.
They're helpful informing the youth of America.
Look at us.
The
youths.
The youths. Gotta stay informed.
I did the polls and I actually pulled them up this week, other than the last time when I had to do it back to back and was struggling. So the first poll question I asked is, there are many different definitions of self-care, but most focus on the promotion of overall health and well-being, improving mental health only, activities like bubble baths and facials, or eating candy corn.
I didn't look at the polls this week, and I'm like really excited you put candy corn in there.
You got a 0% on the candy corn.
Zero, like negative.
0 on the candy corn. What you all think our group member said?
I feel like the bubble baths. Like
the bubble baths.
Yeah.
I think they got like 95% the correct answer.
Which is what, Justin?
Improvement of overall health and well-being.
So that was the most popular at 62%, but activities like bubble baths and facials was at 26%. Improving mental health only 9%, and eating candy corn was 3%.
Yeah, we go.
3%, baby. Let's go.
And we know that K10 did not vote for that because she admitted that she didn't even look at the polls.
I literally had no idea.
Power.
I had no power. I'm
that
like
wasn't
really
her.
shocked.
She was too busy supporting that person.
Yeah. Okay. So I said, on average, how often do you engage in self-care? Daily or almost daily? Weekly, monthly, or less than monthly?
Ooh.
I would say monthly because I think people think the self-care are those big activities.
I'm going to say weekly.
I'm leaning weekly.
Weekly was number 1 with 40%. Daily or almost daily was 28%, less than monthly 16%, and then monthly 15%.
It's a pretty close poll, though.
It was close, yeah.
Okay. We already kind of went over this, but research has indicated there are 8 types of self-care, including physical, psychological, emotional, social, and spiritual. Which of the following is not included in the 8? So we have professional, environmental, philanthropic, or financial.
What the fuck is philanthropic?
What? How do you not know it? I feel like I would think financial is the fake, but now I've learned something. But philanthropic actually makes sense to me.
Like, can you educate K10? Because she doesn't apparently know.
Like for some reason, I'm looking at it in the Google Doc, and it's like not like getting in my like. It's not
like
getting
giving
back.
It's like giving back.
Okay. Sorry. I was looking at it and I was like, I've never seen that word.
It is a weird word when you look at it. Someone's like, judging harshly, but if you just look at the word, you're like, who's Phil and why is he in the tropics?
I will admit to something. When I read that poll, I literally stared at it because I was like, well, none of them are in the list above. So they're all like, my brain wasn't processing either. Like that there were not 8 listed in the question. And in my head, I was like, none of them are listed.
No, I get it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's good for me to know in future.
Look at those
my brain does not work like that.
Look at these post-bachelor level degrees, hard at work.
Yeah.
God damn.
Well,
thank you
philanthropic
thank you.
Was the correct answer, and our group members thought that with 39%, followed by professional at 31%, financial at 17%, and environmental at 14%. Okay. And then a 2021 study on self-care found that blank percent of Americans believe self-care activities can reduce stress. Options were 67%, 75%, 83%, or 96%.
I feel like people are going to go for like the higher numbers, like 83.
Yeah, me too.
So the correct answer was 75%, and our group members got that right with 36% voting that, followed by 67 at 35%, followed by 83 at 23%, and then only 5% thought it was 96, which I thought that was interesting that like when I read that, I mean, 75% is still high for like any study, but like, I don't know. I just thought it might be higher. Like Americans think self-care reduce stress.
Yeah. I mean, because the question's worded, self-care activities can reduce stress. And I'm like...
And that's what the study said.
I know. And in my mind, but this is me reflecting on education. Sometimes it's such a privilege. It blinds you to things that you know that you're like, doesn't everyone know self-care can reduce? But it's so wild. Like, it's hard to unknow the things that you just know is the moment I'm having right now.
Yeah. And then the last question I asked is, what is your favorite way to engage in self-care? We got so many responses, y'all. Like,
I want to hear
so many.
I'm fascinated.
Hit us with it.
What, KPI?
I was just like, I'm excited to hear the creative ones.
Okay, so I'll try to cleaning my house, even little things like wiping down counter or dishes, walks, being in nature, especially around water, and that did not come from Dr. Dre. Resting when I need it. We got a lot of like physical activity. Ooh, saying no and protecting my time.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
Nice one.
Going to therapy, gardening.
Yes.
Walking my dog. To take an everything shower. Does Justin know what an everything shower is?
I love an everything shower.
No.
You don't know what an everything shower is?
You don't know what an everything shower is?
I feel like it's like an everything bagel.
How do you not
It's like an everything bagel, but it's an everything shower. It's when you get in the shower and you do all of the hair care routine. You shave all of the places that you shave. Well, whatever you prefer. Yeah. You like exfoliate, you moisturize, you do your self-skin routine when you get out. Like it's the whole, it usually takes 2 to 3 hours.
self-care thing.
I feel you.
Now Justin's going to go do an everything shower.
Yeah,
We're going to get off this.
You're damn right. Due time.
Cleaning while listening to an audiobook.
Yes. Yeah.
Getting coffee, playing music. Somebody said Duncan, and it wasn't KBI. Bookstore browsing.
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorites too.
KBI, this one's for you. Driving around to NoahCon.
Thank you. Guys, I'm telling you, driving the mile down the road to get a McDonald's spicy Coke fixes everything.
What's a spicy Coke?
Wait, hold on.
Well, McDonald's Cokes are more spicy than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, can you like?
It's more spicy.
It's spicy.
Go get a Coke from McDonald's, and then go get a Coke from some shitty gas station.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant they literally put like fucking hot. I was like, ew. Like, why are they putting hot sauce in Coke? Like, that's disgusting.
No, I just like to call it the spicy Coke, like Sprite.
Sprite. No, the Sprite.
That opens your sinuses. It's like boom, but it does more.
Sprite is another level.
Yeah,
But it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite self-care activities.
This person says blocking out time to do the big scary things I don't want to do and getting myself a little treat after.
Love that.
I love that for you. That's great.
Taking care of basic hygiene when I'm not doing okay. Knitting. I feel like knitting and crocheting, I don't know, at least for Gen Z has like come back in trend. The amount of teens I work with that were like, this week I was crocheting. I was like, what?
It definitely came back.
I tried that
building Lego sets.
Yeah, there we go.
Crocheting. Look. So we got so many more, but those were some really good ones. So thank you all for submitting those because hopefully our listeners got some new ideas.
I love it.
You know what else we love?
We always love them. We love those group member questions.
Woo!
Best part of the pod. Gosh, it's good to be back. Good to be back. And they gave me the best part of the podcast. Oh, and it's the return of the Mac. From Wisconsin, Mac. Lead us off with your great question. I'm an eldest daughter who has always done everything and been everywhere and been everything for my family. I can't read, apparently. But the question is, I don't know how to exist in the world where I focus on myself even a little bit. I know a lot of people can relate to that one. Do you have any advice on how I can start implementing self-care into my life? Help Mac out.
I felt this.
I'm like, oh God, they're talking about me.
It's me. Mac, I don't know if this is based on clinical research or not, but just from personal experience, it's difficult because I feel like you almost have to renegotiate your identity within your family structure, within who you are as a human, right? Like when you try to prioritize yourself because it feels awkward and weird and foreign. So the thing that I always try to tell myself, you'll choose a self-care activity that you want to do, even if it's saying no or whatever the boundaries are or doing pedicures or whatever it is. But new doesn't mean that it's bad. And I had to like convince myself of that as I was trying to do self-care. Cause I'm an eldest daughter who's literally done everything for my family too. So, just word of advice of like, it's okay to feel like it's clunky. It's okay for it to feel weird or like uncomfortable. So like, if you're expecting it to feel like this great thing, it might not in the beginning. So I always like to tell people that.
The only other thought I have is because if you, Mac, and I don't know all your circumstances, like if you feel kind of like lost in your identity, reflecting first on who you are outside of being the eldest daughter, like what are your interests, things like that. And that can help guide where you can start self-care. So if you're like, oh, I actually really have always had an interest in art, but never really got to do it, you can go to one of those sip and stroke classes that Justin was talking about. Or like, if you, I don't know, even just putting on some music you like, or if there are things about you, I really like being out in nature, things like that. And I think focusing on who you are outside of that role as the eldest daughter can really help guide what activities would be self-care for you. And that might be an easier way to start.
I like that.
Love that one. I was about to say Kristen, and now I'm realizing is it Kirsten?
Kirsten.
Whew. Because we don't need another Kristen. Kirsten from South Africa asked a question I know I can relate to. How do I make sure I get back on track with self-care if I fell off the bus? Sometimes it's just a bit difficult to get back into exercising or journaling if I get into a dip. So true.
Well, I think it's remembering that self-care doesn't have to be something that's happening every single day the same exact way. And a lot of times it's just starting it the same way you started before. Like if you're going to the gym 5 days a week and suddenly it falls off, like to set the expectation that you're going to go 5 days a week starting right off the bat, it's probably going to set you up for failure. But instead it's like, you know what? I want to start moving my body more. So I'm just going to go for a 10-minute walk. I always say starting out small to help build that back up versus setting yourself up for a situation that could just cause you to crumble in that. Because it's supposed to be relieving and feel good, not stressful.
Yeah.
I love that a lot because I'm very much of you have to think about the now and let go of what was. Because and the way I think of this for myself, and I've sometimes pitched this to clients, is in any moment you want to think, what's a way I could raise, my emotions or self-care, however you want to think about it, just 1 point out of 10. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I feel like a 2 out of 10, what would just move it from a 2 to 3?
Yeah.
But for me, that helps me lose track of, I was going to the gym, exactly like KBI was saying, 5 days a week. It's no, if I just in this exact moment, I just want to feel a little bit better in my body, gain a little bit more energy. I think exactly what KBI was saying is it leads you to doing the small things that build of sometimes for me, it is I'm just going to go for a walk now for 15 minutes. But those are the ways, I think a lot of us bridge back. I don't think it's I haven't been working out for months and now I'm I went 5 days this week. Good for you, bro, if you did that. But I think for many of us, it starts much smaller in a moment.
I love that you talked about the bridge because the bridge is different than the person who's maintained consistency, like you said, for all these, it's just two different things. Totally.
Hannah, Cindy from Idaho and Brooklyn. Never met each other.
Brooklyn.
Aren't ships passing in the night? Two souls from two very different parts of the world asked very similar questions.
Different parts of the world? They're in the same country.
Idaho and Brooklyn, New York. You ever just stood in a field in Idaho and been like, is this Brooklyn? No. Completely different.
Never stood in a field in Idaho.
Well, someday I might. I have in Ohio many a times. They both want to know. Give us some pro tips for good self-care while navigating grad school. Let us know. This panel, everybody just hid their head in shame.
Oh, people did self-care in grad school.
It's
How did
important.
you make it through grad school? If you think about it more that way too.
Yeah.
Battered up and bruised.
I'm really thinking here. And as much as I want to say, oh my God, my spiritual practice was A1, I didn't give a shit about that in grad school. I was like, I just have to get through the day. I literally have to get through this moment. I reduced my expectations for myself, literally to zero. That's how I got through grad school. Not with the work that I was doing, but everything else in life. I was like, you know what? I can't meal prep. I can't clean my house. I can't do all the things I need to do. I need to ask for help. And I just reduced it all down to the bare minimum. And it just felt more manageable. And for me, that's kind of how I navigated. And it felt like self-care to me because I was like, I don't have to worry so much about things. And then I would tell my friends if they come over, my house is a wreck. I'm in grad school. And they're like, oh, we get it. Obviously we get it. No big deal.
Yeah.
And it was way easier for me to feel like I could maintain myself. And that felt really good for me to let go of that stuff.
Yeah. I will say, even though I was like, oh no, self-care in grad school, graduate school was when I consistently started working out at my early mornings. Like I've always like been active, but like even throughout like college or even like my master's program, I wasn't as consistent. In my PhD program, that's when I started getting up at like ungodly hours in the morning and working out consistently, like 5 to 6 days a week. Because it definitely helped my mental health. I would say the other big thing for me was relying on my cohort, like, you know, forming those connections. We were very intentional of trying to do stuff together, maybe not every weekend, but at least like once a month, like just going out and doing something. Cause that was self-care. But I mean, it is hard. Like I know for me, between research, clinical work, classes and stuff, you're easily working 60, 80 hours a week.
I was just going to add, it looks different depending on what program you're in and what year you're in. Like my first year, I was good in quotes, and my last year in my doc program, those middle 2 years, when I was doing like tons of therapy for the first time, I was getting through comps, I was working on my dissertation. You know, I don't know what I did. I would go to the rec center every now and then, but I think to maintain and get through, you have to prioritize for you, like what is most important. Like, and for me, it was the social aspects. Those aspects for me, like getting together with cohort mates, hanging out with people, not skipping on the social activities, got me through grad school, where my movement and exercise fluctuated a lot. My last year was amazing. I was playing a lot of volleyball with some friends and did like club volleyball stuff. Like that was amazing and had me exercising all the time. But like, if you know yourself, you'll prioritize the things that will like keep you afloat. I think it might be hard coming into grad school if you don't even know what those things are. Like, what are the things that like, there are those self-care things that are nice to have, but then there are the things that literally keep us afloat. And doing a little bit of reflection of like what that might look like for you, I think will go a long way. Cause I think it's unrealistic when programs tell you like self-care and you're like, sometimes your schedule is like, there's no way. There is no way in the midst of everything I have to do in these days and weeks that I'm going to like, go to the rec center for an hour.
I remember I had classes for like 12, my cohort. If you remember the times, I'm going to pray for us right now, just in remembering these moments, because we had class literally 12 hours. My program was accelerated, so we had to like cram everything in, and class for 12 hours and practicum, and then like one more class and like all the comps and all that other stuff. And I'm like, okay, we had an hour break. Am I going to do yoga during my hour break? No, I'm going to sit in my car and cry. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cry my eyes out. That was technically self-care. I would call my partner and be like, I can't do this. And he's like, you're going to be fine. Like, just, you're good. But I just need to cry to somebody.
Well, I did my program in 16 months.
That's incredible.
So I did mine. So I did an accelerated program, and I just kept telling myself it's 16 months. Like, it's not like, you'll be fine. You're not going to die. I'll be fine. Like that's, and like, I obviously like, I tried to spend time with friends where I could, like, probably drank too much, but like it was, for me, like my self-care was like, I chose to do this shorter program because I knew doing the longer program wasn't going to be feasible for me in the long run. And so, I mean, that's just, for me, that was self-care, was choosing a shorter like it saved time, but just,
Justin, when you said it depends on the year in the program, I totally forgot about this. And I feel like either y'all are going to be like, oh, that's amazing, or like totally make fun of me. Don't know which way this is going to go. My first year, my PhD program, I trained and ran a marathon.
Wait, and hold on.
No, like this doesn't surprise you at all, Jess.
Tell our group members how many miles a marathon is, just in case.
26.2.
Okay, during your first year of a PhD program.
But I wouldn't have had time. And my point is, I wouldn't have had time later on in the program.
KBI's
no, you're right.
Was one of disgust. Like KBI just looks so like.
I'm like, there are people
really
out there that
impressed.
choose to run 26 miles in one sitting. And I'm like, I can barely run one without
I couldn't.
one.
You're getting better. You're getting better.
I couldn't now, but yeah, when you said that, Justin, I was like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, I ran a marathon. That's awful.
Incredible.
Then trying to go to grad school, like go to school the next day. It was on a Sunday after running. I like couldn't walk.
Oh no.
It's painful, but yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
No.
I think different years will call for different self-care methods, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. Robin out in Iowa. Robin knows about cornfields. Definitely been a cornfield or two. When I try to relax and calm my mind in yoga or soak in a hot bath, etc., I'm flooded with traumatic flashbacks. What suggestions do you have when self-care turns south? Love you guys and all you do to bring awareness to mental health. Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
This is actually really common within the research of mindfulness, which is something I'm really passionate about because I did my dissertation on it. Mindfulness, well documented, practice that can help a lot of people with their mental health, from depression to ADHD to anxiety to a lot of different things. However, with any practice, it's not to say it's perfect for everyone. And what we know is for people who have a trauma history and PTSD, a small sample of them will get triggered within the space and the openness that meditation can bring. So it's not uncommon that that's true. And I relate to it personally as somebody who has adapted through my own traumas by overbooking, overfilling, and never stop moving as a strategy. So I would feel that after my dad died, especially every time I'd slow down, it was like I was sad. And the truth was I was sad all the time, but I wouldn't let myself feel sad. So I just kept moving. Part of me very much feels like it's not to say you have to love yoga or sitting in a hot bath or meditation, but if any time you slow down, trauma is coming up to the surface, I'm highly recommending that you work with a mental health professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that tells me, and I've experienced that too, it's already there. It's already just sitting there. So you just slowing down a little bit, bringing that out, to me, it's like there's stuff that needs to be processed and you would likely feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Totally. I totally agree with that too. Cause I think if I just look back on my own life during moments of like being triggered from trauma or stress or something like that, meditation's hard. I mean, like self-care is really difficult. Slowing down is hard. Being alone with my own thoughts is hard. When things are peachy, it's like, oh, I'm cool, But if you do have moments where you're kind of feeling like, wow, it's overwhelming, a lot of times we just need a little bit of extra help.
Totally. Haley out in Germany. What are your thoughts? We talked about this a little bit, but I like this question. What are your thoughts on things like eating and drinking regularly, personal hygiene, taking medications / vitamins as prescribed, counting as self-care? What do you think of these things as being forms of self-care? Great question, Haley.
I definitely think they are. Because if we go back to this idea that self-care is anything that promotes or is good for your overall mental health and well-being, those are some of the most basic things that are going to be good for your overall health and well-being. I would also argue, if you have time to do things beyond that, I would want you to do things, whether it's certain interests or indulging in those stereotypical massage, bubble bath, things like that. But on the other hand, if with where you are in life, say you're in grad school, those might be the only forms of self-care you can do right now. And I don't want people to think that, oh, I'm not doing quote unquote enough. Like, no, if you are nourishing your body, you're drinking water, showering, brushing your teeth, taking your medication or vitamins, and doing those things gives you the energy or makes you feel better. Like that, at least in my opinion, that is definitely self-care.
Agreed.
Love it. 100%. Michelle, out in California, I often find myself feeling guilty when I stop being, quote, productive and do something for myself that I would consider self-care, especially when I'm doing it alone and not with my family. What advice do you have for us who are type A, ADHD perfectionists who align their self-worth with productivity, not slowing down and enjoying self-care? And no, telling myself self-care is productive doesn't actually work.
I love
Michelle
it.
cut you off
That's what I was
before
gonna say.
any of
I
y'all.
love the disclaimer,
I was literally going to
Michelle.
be like, well, self-care can be productive as like working on yourself. But what the hell, Michelle?
I
God.
love it.
Have I done the sharpening the axe, like the metaphor? Have I talked about that in the podcast?
No.
No.
I'm going to tell it real quick because I
Enlighten
tell
us.
this too often. Okay, so this is like I don't know if it's a metaphor or whatever, but it was told to me and it really made a ton of sense. But there was a woodsman in the woods person in the woods, and they heard their neighbor cutting down trees, and it was going on for hours and hours and hours. So the woods person went over to the neighbor and they noticed, they're like, oh my gosh, the axe they were using was super dull. So they whispered in the neighbor's ear, they're like, oh my gosh, your axe is super dull. If you pause and sharpen it, you would actually work far quicker. And the neighbor didn't even look up and goes, I can't. I have way too much work to do. And that's the end of the story.
Work smarter than
No, but it makes sense. Yeah.
Wow.
But I think of that metaphor. One of my supervisors told me that when I was in grad school all the time. And I'm like, I've been that neighbor a billion times where I'm literally using a dull axe and beating it against the side of a tree and telling myself, like, I don't have time to sharpen the axe.
Keep going. Yeah. Oh my God.
Even like not the I guess same thing, but I definitely have times where I'm working or I'm like stuck on something. I don't know how to word something. I don't like whatever. And I'm like, but I have so much work to do. If I just get up and leave my desk for 5 minutes, go walk around, come back, even though that's 5 minutes, quote unquote, wasted, come back and I just feel like clear of mind and I'm so much more productive.
Right.
So I guess going back to Michelle, if telling yourself that self-care is productive doesn't actually work, are you going to be more efficient in your productivity if you take time for self-care? Like, can you think of it as a preventive? Like, I need to do this so I am more efficient in my productivity.
Right. I also, this might be really nuanced, but when I think about guilt means you're making a mistake. And society probably is telling you that because you're not being productive, because in America, our self-worth is based on our productivity. Think about it. Like, I'm just going to go deep real quick. I promise we'll come back to the surface. But, you know, when you have a job, it's connected to your healthcare. So if you don't have a job, then you don't technically have healthcare unless you have other sort of healthcare, right? So it's all connected. And then if you take time off, oh my gosh, my team has to pick up the slack for it. Like, there's all these ways in which taking time off is seen as a negative, or taking time for yourself is seen as a negative, when it's actually not at all, but we're conditioned to think that way. So to say fuck society, you should probably just take time for yourself, do an experiment, and just kind of see how it goes, you know, because I think I had to really get out of the headspace too of like, oh my God, I feel if I do something for myself, I'm not productive. And then how am I going to find any sort of self-worth because I'm not productive? You have to sit with yourself and you have to like get close with yourself and try to figure out who you are. And it opens up this big can of worms that nobody wants to acknowledge. But I think if you go a little deeper, you might find the answers you need.
Maria, Eleni, both say, oh, from Jersey and New Jersey. What? I didn't even notice that until right now. The Jersey girls came together. As therapists, how do you guys practice self-care? What does self-care look like for therapists? I think now's the time to spill the beans. Give me some of your go-to self-care peeps.
Can I out KBI?
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, God.
Outer.
What am I?
Outer.
Crying in the shower.
Crying in the shower.
Crying in the shower is my favorite thing in the world.
It's cathartic.
Ben will pop his head in and he'll be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, leave me alone, I'm crying. I'm like sitting down crying. And he's like, are you? I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm just letting it out.
Yeah.
I can't tell what's shower water and what's tears. It's great.
It's great.
Showers alone are like pretty elite, but anyways.
Yeah. I would say I'm really good at, what is my go-to? Like, I'm pretty good at doing like a variety of things. Like, I think that's like, I don't have like one thing I go to. I am just very, like, my self-care is chaotic. Like, one day it's going to be, I'm getting a facial. The next day it's, I'm budgeting. The next day is like, it's so all over the place, but I'm pretty good with it now than when I was.
I would argue that self-care for therapists is very similar to like just anybody else.
Yeah.
Like we all struggle, at least I do, with remembering to do it, feeling good about doing it, not feeling guilty about doing it, all those things. But the one thing that personally I really like doing is engaging in like spirituality practice and stuff like that. But as a therapist, sometimes I'll overthink it. Like, okay, if I do self-care now, then maybe later I'll have time for that. Like I mentally like try to clock it, and I have to stop doing that. And I have to just like let myself do it. That's like my toxic trait right now that I'm working on with my own therapist. So I have to hold myself accountable. That's why I'm saying it. So I got to engage more.
Yeah, it's interesting because like when I heard you read those questions, Justin, my mind is like went to self-care, particularly like as a therapist in like our role. So like for me, you know, I don't take my work computer home. And when I do take it home, I turn it off. So I'm not like checking email. Same with my work phone, and a lot of like boundary setting around like when I will respond to things, boundaries with clients, boundaries with like the physicians in the hospital, with consults, like saying no, things like that. And honestly, those things have probably helped me more in my like job as a psychologist than like exercise is like my go-to form of self-care. Like I feel awful, minus days that like I need to listen to my body if I don't like exercise or like go on walks and get outside. Like those are things like as Jess I need, but like for my role as a psychologist, boundary setting, like with my time, with my clients, with the people I work with has probably been the biggest form of self-care.
I love it.
I feel like I relate to pieces of everything y'all put out there. I got to change my environment up. Like, obviously I told you all I work from home. I just think there's something stagnant about doing psychotherapy. I've always felt that way. You're very locked in with one person. You're not moving much. So there's something for me when I can be completely in a different environment. I'm privileged to live near the beach. When I'm at the beach, there's so many sensory things I'm taking in. And yes, I'm loving cleaning my feet on that hot sand and salt water. Y'all knew you knew I was going to mention it, but I mean it. Like there's so much sensory to take in. It's like, I need to be in a different environment where I'm not thinking of all my clients' trauma, how I'm going to help X client with Y thing. Like, and for me, that is changing up my environment, and nature does that better for me than any other thing. Like, I can be scrolling TikTok and thinking about all my clients, but when I'm at the beach, I can set that aside, which like, I feel like you definitely need to figure out how to do as a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christy, Grace, and Anonymous all ask a really, really good question, which is basically centered around, what about when you have depression? Obviously, depression makes it hard to do much of anything, and it makes self-care very difficult, having no motivation to do the simplest tasks. how can you start implementing self-care when you're battling depression? And I think it was Christy that said, love the pod. I look forward to it every week. Christy.
Oh, thanks,
you.
Christy.
Thanks, Christy.
I definitely, when I am in my lowest of lows, it goes back to that basics, right? I brush my teeth. I brush my hair. I try to take a shower once a week. Like, I go back to that basic. But I also find, again, this is speaking for myself, I can't promise, but that behavioral activation, that if I just start with something, a lot of the times I can follow through with it. And I start like the baby steps. It's why I started walking in the grocery stores, because there was a time where I did not do grocery delivery and I had to do the grocery shopping. So I was made a mindful choice of, if I'm already walking down 10 out of the 20 aisles, why not walk down 20 of them? And once you start, it just is that habit. You start getting into that practice. And so I found, like, for me, just that behavioral activation helped a lot. But I also maintained the awareness of where I was at. So if I was already at a 2, I'm not going to do something that is an energy level of like an 8. Because I know that I'm not, like, it's going to make me feel worse. And so I keep that in mind when I was making those choices.
Love that. Love that so much. This is Stephanie from Washington asks an interesting question. What's your least favorite self-care activity that you don't necessarily like, but do anyway because you know you'll feel better after? I'm going to lead off here because I say this a lot. Yoga. I am the least flexible person, and it is so painful for me during the process of any yoga session. Like, I can't do a forward fold. I can barely touch my toes. I'm like in agony watching people put their head under their leg and kiss their butt easily. And I'm like, I can barely sit on my butt.
What yoga are you going to?
Yo, people are flexible.
It's with slip and stroke.
I am not, really. I'm not flexible at all, but no single self-care activity has made me feel better after more than yoga. And it is incredibly hard for me.
That is me with the gym. I started going to the gym back in March, and I hate every single waking moment of it. Especially the treadmill. I literally, if I could burn treadmills down, I would. I hate running. I hate it's the bane of my existence. I want to meet someone. I'm convinced there's maybe Jess. Jess is going to be an outlier here. Like, of someone who truly enjoys working out.
Oh, I love working out.
I don't
understand
Love
that.
it.
It's miserable.
But it is the pain it sort of brings you, though. Like, in the midst of yoga, and I see people like smiling, laughing, I'm like, I'm barely holding on here.
Yeah.
Like, this is my will to live right now is on very thin ice. Like, I'm running on the treadmill. Like, the other day I did 0.95 miles in 12 minutes. And I was like, I think I'm going to die today.
Wow.
But the after.
I mean, even the after, I will say, it's not as great as I would like it to be. Like, it's not as rewarding. But it is. Like I said, I do it because I know when I talk about moving our bodies, this is my favorite. I quote this every time I talk to clients, I talk to people. I quote Legally Blonde.
I knew you were going to say that.
Exercise releases endorphins. Endorphins make people happy, and happy people just don't kill their husbands.
Oh my God.
So really, you're doing it for Ben, so he doesn't die.
No, she's doing it so she doesn't have to do a hard time.
There's that. I have a good pillow. But like, that's really like, like the long-term effect of it makes me feel better. But in the moment, I give daggers to my coach every time because I'm like, well, I got off the tread the other day and I go, what was that? That was shit.
Oh my God.
I hated that. So.
You guys are going to cringe when you hear me say this, but as an insomnia specialist, I have to out myself. So I get so excited about self-care, like after my day where I'm like, oh, I could like just do whatever I want after sessions, like all this fun stuff. And I don't want the night to end. And I'm like, I don't want to go to sleep. You know, like I want the night to keep going. I want it to keep going, but I literally have to fucking stop myself every time and be like, oh, fine. I'll do my self-care, routine right before bed. Like, fine, I'll do it. I'll lower all the lights. Fuck. I hate it. I don't like it because I'm like, I just want to keep having fun, Like, I just want to keep the night going. So, I have to like force myself at like after the podcast or, around like 9 or 10 o'clock to just be like, fine, I have to shut everything off and I can't stand it. But when I do it and I end up sleeping and I wake up the next day, like I'm great. Like the next day, I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. But if I don't, then I'm like hating myself the next day. And I'm helping people with insomnia, feeling like a hypocrite. And I'm like, yeah, just go to bed at this time. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even do that. Like, I can't. Like, what am I doing?
I will say K10 at midnight is a whole different beast. And I love it.
Because I get too excited and then I can't. My thing is like, I can't bring myself down. Because I'm so like, I'm a chameleon with like energy. So if like everybody else is excited, I'm up, and I can't. And my partner is very much like that too. He's always on 24/7.
I have a video of K10 late at night in bed next to me, making fun of me. And it is the most hilarious video I have of her.
I'm done. Don't ever show that.
Really
I know it's going to post in the stories when this releases.
It's going live.
Cannot wait.
I feel like I'm excited to hear Jess's response. I just feel like you're like, I look forward to every
Just tell us.
So it was interesting, like listening to you all, because I think like the first thing that came to my mind was like vacuuming. Like, it's one of those things, like I don't enjoy like really vacuuming or sweeping, but I feel so like I'm a person that gets very like visually like overwhelmed. So if things are like neat and in place and cleaned up, so like I hate vacuuming, but I love when you like, I know this is so, I don't even know what the word is, but like when you vacuum and the carpets, like you can tell they're like
the lines.
Oh, yes, it's like so satisfying. Or like sweeping the floor is like clean, especially like with a toddler and a dog and stuff. Like I don't like those things at all, and I will put it off until then. I get just so like overwhelmed with like their stuff. So that I mean honestly, so that I guess would fall into like environmental self-care when we were talking about the different things. But yeah, I mean I think those are really the big things. Like there's nothing like I love working out. There's not much self-care I do. I mean, I love like listening to podcasts or music and I do that. So I don't know. Vacuuming.
Oh my God.
Vacuuming. Well, guys, I think we have reached the end.
Well, on that note on vacuuming.
On that note on vacuuming.
Suck.
Just bury me. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I mean, Jess couldn't because she has too many endorphins.
True.
She truly enjoys working out.
True.
I just went to go say, well, guys, say it
again.
We're doing great with what we have at the moment. Yes, we are.
But it was such a joy to have everybody back in group this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We love it. We love this. Obviously, the podcast couldn't work without you guys. So make sure that after you listen to this episode, you rate, subscribe, review, share it with a friend who might be struggling with their self-care. We all know the one. We know the one who needs this episode the most. So it's probably KBI. You listening. But maybe send it to a friend. And as always, we leave you with a reflection question. And this week, we just want to know, like, what are you doing this week to take care of yourself? Like, what is that self-care activity? Big, small, intentional, whatever it may be, let us know. Head over to our Instagram. Let us know. And we will see you next week in group therapy.
Bye.
Bye. Hate it.